Thanks everyone for being here. I'm excited to share with you. I'm also nervous, which is to be expected, I think. Um, I think I'd like to start with a little bit of meditation, just a few minutes of meditation together, just to kind of drop in, and then we will go into our discussion around the shifting of the ages. I'll do some teaching, kind of sharing about where we've been, where we're headed, what are the differences between the two ages of Pisces and Aquarius, and what I see kind of in the near term. And then we can have time, a pause probably periodically to ask if there's questions and we can discuss things. But we'll definitely have time at the evening to discuss and maybe do a guided visualization um, together. So we'll see how that all unfolds. I made this to be an hour long, so I want to try to commit to that no longer, unless people really want to stick around. Um, and people are still dropping in here, so that's great. All right, so I'm just going to invite everyone to close their eyes. And thank you, Bradford, for taking care of the admitting people. Just invite you to close your eyes and take some deep breaths in your nose, out your mouth. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, all right. And just allow your awareness, attention to fall on the breath and let yourself sink into your chair or your feet if you're standing or wherever you are. And just letting go of the activity and the hustle bustle of the day, the weekend, the past week, and just resting in the heart, feeling the breath touching the heart, touching your belly. Allowing yourself to feel love for yourself, to feel your love. We'll just drop into some silence together for a few moments. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And we're going to begin here. So, this topic of the astrological ages has been something that has been deeply on my heart and in my being for quite some time, many years that I've been contemplating this topic. Um, what is the age of Aquarius about? Are we in the age of Aquarius? Where are we at in all of this? Um, and so I'm hoping to be able to share some of that with you today. some of those thoughts, some of those reflections and revelations. And I'll start with sharing that many years ago, when I started doing intuitive healing work along with my astrology readings and astrology practice, there were a number of clients that I had that during my sessions, and I'll pause and just say, the way that I'm viewing my screen right now, I can't see everyone. So if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat, and there will be times where I will stop and just pause and see if there's questions, and then we can talk with each other. So I had a number of clients where during the intuitive healing session, I had this vision of them coming up out of the ocean. It's like they were emerging from the ocean onto the beach or onto dry land, and this was a repeating theme, and it really intrigued me. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I recognize that this had something to do with the idea of moving from Pisces into Aquarius. And so this is a little bit of a backdrop, just to give you a sense of where I'm coming from. This initiated with intuitive healing work with people. And so what are the astrological ages? If you're familiar with, if you've heard of the term, if you're somewhat familiar with it, will you just put in the chat, yes? So I get a sense of if people, and know if you don't know anything about them. So I got some yeses coming in. Nice. All right, thank you. So the astrological ages are really the backdrop of what's going on the planet, and it's a long backdrop. I mean, each age here I have is about 2,160 years long. Each age spans the length of one sign. So we've been in the age of Pisces. We're now in the age of Aquarius. I feel we are in the age of Aquarius. There's a lot of debate in the astrological community about that, and lots of different years about when each age ends and when each age begins. And we'll go into that a little bit. About, it's understandable why there's confusion. So the whole cycle of the precession of the equinox, which means when the sun rises in at the vernal equinox, so the spring equinox, the sign that the sun is in the sky, we move backward through all 12 signs very slowly. This 1 degree every 72 years. It's very slow process. And while the sun is shining through that sign, we're getting that energy of that sign as kind of the foundational theme energy that everything else comes out of for that over 2,000 year period. And here the exact years, roughly 25,920 years for the whole cycle. So we've been in the age of Pisces, and I want to talk a little bit about what the themes are for the age of Pisces. And this is by no means exhaustive. There's a lot that could be said. And I'm sure there's things that you would like to contribute, which I'm happy to hear as well. But roughly, the age of Pisces began around the time of Buddha Jesus. I mean, there's a good 400 or 500 years span between those two figures, but they are, I feel, very representative of the energy of the age of Pisces, because Pisces is such a spiritually focused sign. Now, when we entered the age of Pisces, we just had one ruler for Pisces, which was Jupiter. Each sign has a planetary ruler. Pisces happens to have two, but Neptune was not discovered until like 1845. So Jupiter, the ruling planet of Pisces for most of the time that we were in that age. And a big theme of Pisces is sacrifice, martyr energy, surrender, surrender into the one, to the all. It's it's the ocean. It's the we are all one, connected into that body of water. So hard to distinguish out the parts from the whole, and this big focus on unification. And we had rises of empires during the age of Pisces, colonization, and trying to bring the world together, to unify the world, to make it safe, to control, that kind of energy. There were large religious movements, Christianity, and Muslim, Islamic religion, and big waves of religion moving across the planet, all connected to Pisces as well, especially Jupiter. And some of the shadow aspects of Pisces is this idea of escapism. And so there's a lot of emergence in religion and in spirituality around trying to get out of here, either through, like, Jesus, come take me away, the rapture theology, in the Christian world, also enlightenment, and this desire that seekers having of getting off of the wheel of birth and death and finding peace, here now also, but also wanting to maybe get out of here. And I'm not saying that all religion or all spirituality was focused on that, but there has been some strong focus there for large numbers of people. There's also something here, if you've read any of David Hawkins' books, he wrote Power versus Force. He talked about how he talked about the scale of consciousness, from 0 to 1,000. He calibrated this through muscle testing, and I think he said that back in the 1980s, late 1980s, we moved collectively above 200 on that scale of consciousness, which meant that we moved into a territory that we would survive, because below 200 is fear and lots of the lower emotions and consciousness, and 400 is like compassion, love, and 600 and above is like enlightenment or just ecstatic states of consciousness. He talked about how Jesus had a very high level of consciousness, and so someone on the high end of the consciousness scale can counterweight large, thousands, potentially millions of people on the lower end of the scale, because the scale is what's the word? It's like exponential in the effect. So people at high levels of consciousness can offset whole populations. And so there's a way in which Jesus and the sacrifice, that martyr kind of energy, I believe, did have, and he left his teachings with the disciples, the 12 disciples, and that's just one worldview example. Buddha would be another example of that. This way in which Pisces was a stopping point along this wheel. We moved from Aries, because this moves backwards, Aries, out of a very fearful, if I'm I come from a Christian background, so I see a lot of things through that lens of what I was brought up with. A God that was very fearful. We were afraid of God, and we had to sacrifice the lamb or the to God each year. The sacrificial lamb. Moving from that Aries energy to Pisces, which was more about like, okay, let's really get that the compassion of God, the love of God, but still this kind of separation to a degree in our because of religion and the way that we have as a humanity related with the divine up until this point. And so we all have been in this ocean of, we could say, karma, shared karma, dealing with our part of it, but it's all connected to the whole. And what I feel from the visions and the things that I've been shown is like we're moving out of a place collectively, and these cuspal periods between the ages last several hundred years, really. So this is not something that happens overnight or anything like that. Moving out of kind of having to all share the karma of the planet, in a sense, like through our body, through our process, through our spirituality, and moving into a place of I'll get to that in a moment. Just to finish up on Pisces here, Pisces also rules secrets and conspiracies. And if Pisces wanting to kind of bring everyone into the ocean, into the whole, being able to control or rule large groups of people without there being too much to worry about rebellion and people doing their own thing, which is more of Aquarius energy. You can understand that there's probably been on this planet a lot of secrets and conspiracies that have been used against us, manipulation, control. This is all, I think, part of what this energy of Pisces has been like, and probably even before this. And Pisces, that planet Jupiter in the Vedas, Jupiter is guru. Guru is the name for Jupiter. And during the age of Pisces, we needed teachers, we needed messiahs, we need Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, other prophets that came and taught, and this kind of dependence or reliance or devotion to the grace of the master or the teacher, the guru. This is stuff that we're shifting out of in some ways. This energy is not going to go away because none of the signs disappear. It's just this wave has crested, and we're moving into a different kind of energy. How I'm curious if people are following me so far, and how are we doing here? Anyone have a question or want to make a comment? All right, so I'm going to keep going here. Just want to mention, so how do we know where we're at? And this is where my teacher, Stephen Forrest, I really appreciated his perspective. If the heavens reflect who we are, if our birth chart is a reflection and supportive of that. Thanks, Kelly. As above, so below, then wouldn't it also seem truthful that as below, so above? So I think there's been a lot of signs on our planet that we're in a different age than the Pisces. We've moved into something new. And I think one of the big clues was when the Wright brothers took flight, and man finally left the Earth, even for a short flight, and into the air, right? Aquarius, although it's the water bear, it's actually an air sign, right? So we moved from a water sign to an air sign. And so man taking flight, I think is a great sign of some significant change. Along with that, all of the technology that has just exploded on the planet in the last 100+ years, from electricity to train engines and steam engines and car, and now the internet and nuclear technology and cellular tech. I mean, it's just the momentum of technology has grown and grown and grown and grown. And that, to me, is another big sign that we've stepped into a new age. And one of the bigger signs that I feel is actually 9/11. Very symbolic to me. Aquarius actually rules kind of terror, trauma, energy. And if you look at the Twin Towers, it's like an 11 in the sky, right? And 9/11, there's lots of 11s on that date and surrounding that traumatic event. And Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac. So this kind of huge, and it was something that pretty much the whole world experienced all at once because of TV and technology. So this kind of shocking experience that we all had all at once, with all this symbology of 11, and whether that was orchestrated or not, well, it was orchestrated, but I don't believe we got the full details of that story, right? But we don't have to go there. Again, part of the secrets and conspiracies of the age of Pisces, I would say. It was just a wake-up call, we could say. And I remember having a vision, because I went into contemplation meditation about that experience, and was curious, like, what was happening on a spiritual level, and I'm sure there was a lot happening that I don't know about. I'm just going to share what I was shown, the little piece that I was shown. And I was shown a woman in the earth, like the earth was a woman giving birth, and she was pregnant with a child, and was in these labor pains of giving birth to this child. And that, to me, really spoke of, there's something new coming forth in humanity. There's a new humanity trying to come forth, and we're going through some trauma to get there, unfortunately. So my guess is we've been in the age of Aquarius since 1900 and before. And I'm just going to throw in a little sidebar here. If I don't know if people have heard of the Yugas, the Vedas talk about these cycles of yugas, or periods of time. So this is from an Indian cosmology philosophy, and there are four periods on each side, on a downswing and then an upswing of this cycle. And I'm going to try not to get too far into the weeds with this, so bear with me. But I found this really important because a lot of people, well, there has been a lot of talk of that we're in the Kali Yuga, which is the dark age of this cycle. It's the darkest. Man has lost its connection to the divine. There's It's just very dark. Now, when I first learned about this, I was told that the Kali Yuga was going to last for hundreds of thousands of years, and we were not anywhere near the end of it. But thankfully, this saint, Sri Yukteswar, who was the teacher, the guru for Paramahansa Yogananda, if you've heard of him, he brought yoga to the West way back last century. He actually threw a party in in the late 1800s, early 1900s, because he looked back over the scriptures and realized that there had been huge miscalculations, and we were actually in the Dwapara Yuga, which is so we're right here. Moving up back to the Satya Yuga, which is, the Satya is very Satya means holy or sacred, and this cycle, his calculations kind of really relate pretty well to the cycle of the ages, because he calculated the whole cycle of the yugas lasted about 24,000 years, which is about the same length of the cycle of the ages. So we've moved out of the dark ages, and if we think about current history, our calendar, we had that period of the dark ages from 700 BC to about 1600, 1700 AD. So most of the age of Pisces occurred in the Kali Yuga, and the Aries age. So you have the ages here. So I'm bringing this in just to give hope, because we are on the upswing of returning to knowledge of the divine, knowledge of our divinity, higher thinking, being able to comprehend the mysteries of the universe and of our reality. I don't know about you, but that excites me and encourages me. And I want to bring in, before I get too far into the Aquarian age themes, I want to bring in that we actually have two new planetary rulers for Pisces and Aquarius, because Uranus was discovered in 1781, before we really entered into the age of Aquarius. And then Neptune was discovered in 1846. And astrologers, all over the world are in agreement unanimously that these two rulers relate to these signs. And Uranus is really interesting because it's the only planet in our solar system that has a rotational orientation like this instead of like this. Our Earth rotates on its axis horizontally, and Uranus rotates vertically, and so it's very it's the rebel, it's the outsider, it doesn't do what everyone else does, right? And that's important. It's also loosely named after the god who brought fire to humans, Prometheus. So there is this theme with Uranus around awakening and liberation. I'm just going to check the chat here. Cool. So we've moved from Pisces to Aquarius, and I guess, I will reiterate that transitional period takes centuries. We're still in that transition period, and the kind of tug of war, and it's not all love and light, right? We know that, we've seen that in our daily lives. The dawning of the age of Aquarius, that song is so fun and uplifting, but it's not all that it's cracked up to be. So moving from the ocean to this is an interesting, I think, diagram of what I feel Aquarius is really about. It's about each of us becoming who we're meant to be, following our own inner authority, our own truth, becoming aware, self-actualized, individuated, and then being in relationship from that. So this is a tensegrity model. The idea of tension and integrity brought together, that instead of us being all dissolved into the ocean, in order for us to really step into the fullness of where we're meant to go, and to support the evolution, the technology, the flourishing of humanity, we've got to have ourselves first individually, and then be in relationship from that. And so the process that we're in, I feel, of coming out of the ocean and stepping into our self-actualized being, that's the work that we're in currently, and we'll continue to be in. And it's exciting. It's important work. So I love the symbol for Aquarius, which is the water bearer. And so coming up out of the ocean and transmuting, changing our own water, our own karma, our own emotional content, our own gifts, coming to know our gifts, coming to know our divinity, and being able to pour that out to our world, to our family, to our friends, to make an impact, instead of just swimming in this chaos of karma that we're all at the effect of, and we've lost our authority, our agency, because of our loyalty to our group at any cost. The sacrifice of the self, which is much more Pisces Virgo polarity from the age of Pisces, that we have to sacrifice ourselves and serve from that place. Whereas the age of Aquarius is really inviting us to a level of enlightened selfishness, because to really follow our truth, our path, and commit to creating and birthing in ourselves what we're here to do, what our mission is, what our destiny is, apart from the group or apart from the family, apart from what other people think. That takes some selfishness and some courage, but it's ultimately the most highest service, because if we're serving from our highest, then we're making the biggest impact from that place, rather than a mediocre impact from a place of obligation that is not maybe aligned with our divine human's potential. Yes, tensegrity structures like our bodies, exactly. And this is kind of, in a way, like the birth of the new man. And if you think about our body, we're moving. So Aries was the symbol of Aries is a goat or a ram. And Pisces is water. And then here we move into a symbol that is actually a human, woman or man. And each cell in the human has its own function, its own purpose. And it just does what it does. Our eyes see, our fingers feel, you know, our ears hear it, our intestines process the food and assimilate. And so this is, to me, a good metaphor of where we're headed as a humanity, where we simply step into what our function and purpose is, and we self-organize each other as the whole around all of our unique functioning. And so we're moving from a place where we've been in the ocean, maybe, and it's more like homogenous, and the individuality before, let's say, Uranus was discovered wasn't quite so important. It was more about the town or the family or the community, the tribe, right? Not saying that those things are going away. We're just, I feel, moving into a healthier expression as a humanity. So let me see if did I finish that train of thought? Yeah. So this idea of the individual versus the group, and the group doesn't necessarily automatically come first. In my way of seeing this, the individual is super important and necessary to have a healthy relationship with the group. We don't sacrifice ourselves for the group any longer. That's the high road. And for most of this, I'm talking about the high road with the Age of Aquarius. There's definitely shadow here too. This is also about freedom and liberation. Liberation from systems of control, we could say, from systems of control that have been built around secrecy and manipulation. Neptune rules media, and media has definitely been used in less than helpful ways, and also great ways, to control and delusion. These are all Piscean themes that we're still kind of coming out of um, maybe we could say brainwashing, or just systems of control that maybe were necessary before, but we've reached a point in our growth and evolution that we don't need those anymore, and we need to step into more agency and responsibility. And in my feeling, Aquarius, we're moving into where spirituality, awakening, we could say awakening or liberation, is the beginning of our journey, really, because we need to awaken and have an awakening, maybe we could say, to support us stepping into what we're here to do, like to have that larger context, so that we are, the awakening of remembering, we could say, remembering that we are all one, we are all connected. But what is what is this unique expression of David here to contribute to that whole? And what is my unique path that I need to walk on that journey? So awakening is not necessarily about getting out of here. It's about getting more fully present, more fully in the body, more fully engaged in my community, in my family, in my life, creating community. So no longer about escaping, but about getting here fully. And then technology, Aquarius rules technology, and we're talking about, all the technology I already mentioned, but also like all that technology, this internet, this connecting, is also a reflection of inner technology that we have, and that we are more and more becoming aware of and coming online with, subtle senses, synchronicity, our divine attributes that we don't need to dissociate from and think that it's out there with God up in the sky or wherever, whatever the belief is, but about embodying and owning our divinity. You know, Jesus talked about being the firstborn of many brethren. What you do, what I do, you can do greater. You can do more of. You can do also. And so owning, again, the water bearer, transmuting our water and turning that into divine gifts. I already mentioned tensegrity, which I'm happy to go into further in these, but I don't want to spend too much time because we're already getting close to our time. And also chosen community or family. So this part of becoming who we are, what we know we're ourselves to be, sometimes, well, you know, we've been locked into bloodlines and family karma, ancestral karma, and I feel like through technology and just doing our own healing work individually, more and more we're getting liberated from needing to be tied to our birth family. And I'm not saying that people are meant to just leave their birth family and create their own family, but I think we're seeing more of this in society where there's the loyalty to family is shifting, it's changing. And I think there's healthy aspects to that, and I think there can be unhealthy things about that. So um, you know, we can bring love into whatever our choice is, and honor ourselves. It's part of that enlightened selfishness that I talked about. So I'm going to pause for a second and just see if there's any questions that people have so far. Are you understanding, enjoying, feeling a little strange about what you're hearing? What's going on? Right. So people are good. All right. Some of the maybe more challenging aspects of Aquarius is that it does relate to trauma, and um, you know, like I mentioned at 9/11. So that is something that we're becoming more aware of as a human species, the effect of trauma. And I think as we have moved up that hierarchy of needs according to Maslow, where we're more of us as a humanity are at that level of, well, how about self-actualization? Um, how about, you know, honoring myself and bringing myself more fully forward into my life and actualizing what I desire. Um, and I think because there's more and more people focused at that level, we're becoming more aware of the trauma that has been operating in our systems, operating in our family lines, karmically. And so we're really, I feel, in a burgeoning time of healing through different technologies. You know, chiropractic has come online in this time, homeopathy, um, all kinds of vibrational healing modalities, um, for us to you know, and lots of different trauma modalities have come online, especially in the last, we would say, 10, 20, 30 years, um, to help us shed the trauma so that we can step more into that self-actualized place. Um, and you know, we're also seeing more beings coming into the planet. I mean, I know I've seen this, and I'm sure I know a lot of other psychics and intuitives and just sensitive people have noticed that that more souls are coming on this planet who really don't have the heavy karmic loads. Now, we could say that the Piscean energy is probably trying to co-opt that a bit with medical technologies that are very suppressive and burdening to the karmic picture of a person, and vaccines is one of those. But still, more souls are coming in who maybe don't have the burden of karma that you or I came in with, because we still had a lot to ladle, a lot to transmute. And we still do have a lot to transmute, but I think that we're picking up momentum to where more and more people in the future, I see, we won't be dealing with so much collective karma. We'll be dealing more with individual karma, and have much more freedom to move more quickly into progressing along that path of individuation. So trauma, dissociation is part of trauma, and that's part of what may have to we're dealing with some in society as well. And there's high roads to deal with trauma, and there's shadowy roads to deal with trauma, and a lot of what we're dealing with in our culture now is blame and shame and victimhood, and really creating identities around these shadowy ways of working trauma, which really isn't working it. It's just perpetuating trauma. So we have work to do. We have love to give in our world to really kind of shift our way of even more and more and more of working with trauma, and homeopathy, and flower essences, therapy, so many things out there to help with trauma. I think creativity is a big theme for the Age of Aquarius because that polarity with Leo, and also Leo is about joy and the inner child. It's a sign of the child. There's also shadowy aspects of Leo with around, we could say, control or manipulation. But we can see how a lot of the individuation process is moving us more and more individually into creative expression. And creativity doesn't have to do with art. It can be with so many different things, but it's bringing what's in us out. So I just love that about the polarity with Leo. And then also doing inner child work for trauma repair and healing. All right. I think we're at 54 minutes. How are we doing on time? I'm going to stop sharing here and just invite some conversation. I could go a little bit further, but I'm just feeling to stop and invite people to, speak what you want to speak. Jane, go ahead.
I've been touched and charmed by your voice. You should do more speaking. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Jane.
And also intuitively have known what you've said. I spent about 15 years teaching world religions at a small community college near me. And what I watched from the time I was 23 till now 67 is that there are more and more children who are intuitive, as opposed to before I would ask them what they want out of life, they would say cars or boats or beach houses. And now they want health and happiness and love and, they're really quite wise. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've watched in my own family the generations of severe trauma, moderate trauma. My children were children of divorce, they had their own trauma. But my five grandchildren seem to have come into this world with joy and hope and happiness. So, they're not quite in middle school yet, but it's been fun to watch the shedding of the karmic layers through
Mm.
my own family.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jane. Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
Ruth Donovan,
Hi, Ruth. Go ahead.
hi. I have really appreciated your description of Pisces versus Aquarius. I had no concept of any of that. I do not know astrology, and I admire anybody who can master astrology in any way. So thank you very much for that display.
Hmm. You're welcome, Ruth. Was there anything in particular that really touched you that you want to speak to specifically, or?
Well, your description of Pisces fits my description of a lot of the leaders in our world. So that fit. And the things that have been going on, the traumas that we've had to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love it if you'd show that screen again with the Pisces list of things, because I didn't think in time to take a picture of it. Is that possible?
Sure. Yeah, just a moment to pull that back up. And if anyone else wants to speak, you're welcome to unmute yourself and just start talking. Let's see. There we go. There you go. Let me make that bigger.
Yes, please. That would be wonderful. Yeah, that is just really, really valuable. Thank you. Where are you located?
I am in North Carolina in the Durham area currently.
Oh, good. Okay. And you do private readings?
I do, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll go
Yeah.
back to mute.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Yeah, I mean, to get a little woo-woo on, if you allow me to get a little woo-woo for you. I do feel like there's a number of souls on this planet and have been coming to this planet for a long time who are not from this. Their souls did not originate from this planet, right? But this has kind of been a mission. It feels like Earth has been a bit of a missionary territory, so souls from other dimensions, other planets, other galaxies. Maybe you've heard of the term starseed. Have come here to help transmute karma, because that's really the only way to really transmute it is to actually be in incarnation here. And I feel like where we're headed is we're moving more toward heaven being birthed on earth, changing, and there will probably be a lot of polarity and dichotomy for a long time. I imagine way beyond my lifetime, but um, as we navigate this terrain of really becoming responsible for what we bring into the world, to recognize how deeply we are really co-creators in this world, that we are all aspects of the divine, and what are we choosing to birth into the world with our words and with our actions, you know so that's maybe a little bit down the rabbit hole for some people, but anyway. Anyone else want to speak or share? Go ahead, Jane.
I'd love to hear another hour on star seeds. And I used to live in Durham and worked for Carolina Academic Press. And I got a letter one day. I was an editor. I got a letter, and the letter was signed Adam Starchild. So this was in the early 70s, and it just sent shivers all over my body. I thought, well, that's a clever pseudonym for somebody who is, enlightened. And I just would love to hear another talk on star seeds.
Well, thank you, Jane. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's not one that I intentionally have gone into. I mean, I've had feelings myself of, I mean, I feel like I've been incarnating here for a long time, but feeling like my soul's not really from here. And every once in a while I will do a reading, and it's happened more often, more recently, where I get the strong feeling as I'm looking at somebody's chart and talking with them that their soul's not from here. And it's an odd thing to feel, but I feel like I have to honor that I'm feeling it, and it often resonates with people that they feel the same way. But yeah, I mean, but this is an important place. Earth is an important place in the cosmos, I feel. I mean, lots of teachers and masters have talked about that, that this is a learning ground, a proving ground, and it's good to be here. Like, I'm happy to be here. I mean, I can say that there's times where I really not liked being here, but I've been able to shift that a good bit and really appreciate this planet and appreciate being here. Pamela, do you want to say something?
Thank you, David. I think I'm thinking very loudly. No, I just appreciate you, David. And I think you're not going too far down the rabbit hole at all. I appreciate Jane's remarks. I have 2 teenagers myself, and I've been able to observe the school system through private schools, private Christian schools, public schools, online schools. And it's really been a challenge for me and my brain to wrap my head around the shift in our children and how they're being raised and what's happening globally. I think it's so powerful that you're saying that we are co-creators in this world. Like we are literally speaking our thoughts, the energy of those thoughts is so powerful. Mm-hmm. The most important shift for me, I just see so many opportunities coming so quickly to people who are willing to reach up and catch them, to just reach up and say, yes, I want to learn this. Yes, I want to be exposed to this. I think so many things, but I think that the changes to the school system are creating our next generation, and I'm still processing what I'm seeing and what I'm learning through that. Words being so powerful, with vibrational medicine becoming more of an accepted term, or people are more willing to look at that. I really appreciated what you had said during your last flower sanctuary about flying your free flag. Mm. I've gone more into hiding with the current viral situation, and my practice of vibrational medicine. I have friends that have been exposed and targeted. I've lost friends. It's been really difficult for me. And I found myself hiding very much these past 3 years. So I appreciate what you're speaking. I appreciate trying to evaluate where I'm at. I think shadow work is exciting and very valuable. It can be scary and alarming, but I think it's valuable. And I just appreciate that you're willing to discuss the hard subjects so that we can all just reach up and catch something that we're willing to look at and hold on to for growth today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's important to look at the shadow, not that we have to like roll around in it and become all identified with it, but to own it, to love it. Love is the key. Love is the transformational force, really. And I sense that we are in a time, and we have been in a time, where lots of the control mechanisms are like the curtain, is being pulled back, and everyone's seeing that the wizard is not some, it's like on the Wizard of Oz, like, it's just a kind of weak old man who was serving a function of controlling and hurting us all, hurting everyone in a certain direction, right? So I feel like we are in a time, and especially as Pluto moves into Aquarius later this month on the 23rd. So we'll get, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months of Pluto in Aquarius this year, and goes back into Capricorn in the fall, and then we'll move back into Aquarius next year for 20 years. So it'll be in Aquarius for till 2044. And the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the French Revolution happened, and it's the revolution of the people, because Aquarius is about, it's about freedom, it's about equity, in the right use of that word, equality. So yeah, we've all been feeling the extremes of the control. It's like that curtain got pulled back, and we all collectively have seen the links to which the structures of this world have been willing to go to control us. And I feel like we're moving into a phase of liberation, and freeing from that. And part of that is going to be us individually trusting God in us, our whatever word, if that doesn't, goddess in you, divine in you, to be empowered, to be safe, to be secure in yourself, to bring your truth to your world, because the world needs your truth, and the world needs your love and understanding. So yeah, I think I feel like more is going to be exposed over the next 2 years, especially 2 to 3 years, and beyond that even. But it's a big awakening time, I feel, for humanity. A lot of people, I think, are going to be going through some struggle with the truth that they're exposed to, some cognitive dissonance, or just things aren't as they seemed or as they appeared, because the delusion is losing its power. It has to. I feel like there's enough of us at higher levels of consciousness on this planet that the illusion cannot stay in hiding any longer. And part of the way out of that place is we have to encounter evil in a way. Like we have to encounter the darkness. We have to see it for what it is. We can't just like sweep it under the rug and ignore it. It's got to be seen, or it can't really be. That energy cannot be transmuted, and that's a lot of powerful energy. So I know for me, I'm encouraging myself, and I'm inviting you to be willing to look into the darkness and bring your love, your light into that, and to love it into something new, to allow that love to. Am I making sense? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
studied Kali about 10 years ago. And it was so fascinating today to hear you say we're moving out of Kali towards what's
Dwapara.
that?
Hmm.
Yes.
Dwapara. Hmm.
I feel like in eastern North Carolina, where I live, the church is primary, and it's so hard for me to find people that I can talk to about my spirituality, because I do have um, great resonance with the community of the church and the rituals of the church and the um, I guess Christocentric beauty and joy of the love.
Hmm.
I didn't grow up with the hellfire and damnation. But now I now I want to be able to say to friends and family and acquaintances, have you ever considered studying spirituality? But I don't want to say new age spirituality. I don't want to say Age of Aquarius, because they would freak like I'm still a 60s hippie. I think the language we use is so important as teachers to raise the vibrations to the fifth dimension, to, find our other star seed family.
Hmm. Yeah, and and trust that there will be bridge builders, people who can translate things for different communities. And yeah, I appreciate all you just said, Jane. Yeah. And it's not like the church is going away, religion's not going away, but it is going to need to incorporate more um, ability to hold paradox and hold tension and diversity, and yeah, to just be love. It's
I
really
would
going
love
back to,
your I would love your opinion. I'm in a new group at church, and I have to give my spiritual autobiography Tuesday night. And I'm thinking, am I really going to tell these people all of my mystical experiences and visions? And they're going to lock me up in the nut house.
well, just be
Jane,
proud.
can I say something?
Go
Sure.
ahead, Kelly.
Jane, I just want to let you know that I wrote on the chat that we were in the church for a little while, various churches, and we came out of that because whatever, we just wanted to fellowship at home, and we had groups at our home and stuff, so we still do that. But I was at a women's Bible study at a church. It's probably like non-denominational in 2012, and when we were getting prayed over, this girl said to me when I sat down, I saw a bright yellow white light or something over your head when they were praying. And I was like, wait, what? Who are you? I need to know you.
That's
And
right.
so that's when it all started for me, learning all this about spirituality and accepting and looking outside of the box I was raised in, the religious box. And it's so much freer. And hey, there might just be somebody there that needs to hear it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
That's very helpful.
Beautiful. Marriott?
David, thank you so much. This is incredible. All of the concepts you're talking about and the ideas and the words, you're making it all so, you're bringing everything together in this package that we can understand. And the way you're explaining it is really, really helpful. I have a question too. One about ecological destruction and how we can think about this and help transmute the the road we're on. The road that seems to be the path that we're on, that feels irreversible. How we can deal with that, internally, and also what we can do as individuals and as communities to help speed up the process of this spiritual evolution and this beautiful unfolding.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So this topic is, I'm not an expert in this at all, ecological sustainability and the climate and all this, but I've done some study, and intuitively I have felt that some of the hysteria and some of the energy, well, a lot of the hysteria, a lot of the energy around this topic feels a bit of a control mechanism. And I don't feel, I am not aware in myself of an imminent disaster approaching. I don't feel that. That doesn't feel true intuitively to me. And part of the Age of Aquarius is Aquarius rules genius, you know, which is connected to technology. And I feel, I'm getting goosebumps saying this, I feel that there are people that are on the planet now and will come onto the planet who will be able to access technology that will shift things in dramatic and amazing ways. That feels, yeah, I don't feel like we have an overpopulation problem. I mean, I'm a little bit, I've got Uranus on my North Node, so I'm a bit of a rebel myself, you know, and Uranus rules the rebels and the revolutionaries. So I do feel like there's a lot more hope than what we've been fed by our systems of control. There's a lot more hope. And if you think about Pisces and this conspiratorial energy that is used to herd people in a certain direction, I just see the climate has been co-opted into this boogeyman that we all have to unite around and sacrifice our liberties. You know, it's like, get rid of farming and get, does this make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. And I may be stepping on some toes by saying some of this, you know, but I'm not saying that we need to not be responsible, right? We need to be responsible. We need to love our earth, and we need to be good stewards of where we are. But I don't feel like creating from a place of fear or suppressing our potential because we're afraid of the outcome that we don't really have control over. We have our ideas about what it might be, but we don't really know. Like, the models haven't panned out on a lot of things. So how is this answer landing for you? I'm curious. I totally welcome any pushback or questions or anything, you know.
What's coming up for me is that we really can rest in the unknown.
Uh-huh.
And have hope. Like, your whole talk is so hopeful. And so we can flip the fear into hope and love.
Yes.
And then nothing is inevitable. That's what came up for me. Like,
I love that.
Nothing is inevitable. Like, there is possibility in the universe, in the spirit.
And the more of us holding that perspective and holding that possibility, the more we make room for that potential. You know, we don't have to be herded down a slippery slope of destruction. Like, no, this world is beautiful. It's, you know, and God in me is powerful, and God in all my brothers and sisters on this planet is powerful, and someone is going to create, you know, a group is going to create things, you know, ways of escape from destruction. You know, that's just what I choose that I choose hope. Well, thank you all for staying over a little while here. I would love if you want to email me any thoughts or suggestions. That this is information that I've been wanting to write about for some time, and I just got a prompting from Spirit that I needed to just, instead of waiting to write, I just needed to get my ass on Zoom and and talk about some of this stuff. So thank you for being here and witnessing and partaking and sharing your thoughts. Good night, everyone. Lots of
Thank
love.
you so much. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Bye, everybody.
Bye.